Okay,
Okay.
so here we are, and I'm delighted to see I'm interviewing Sue King-Smith, who is our appointed project manager for the hydro scheme at Marburn. So being quite new to the KPT Trust, it's really good I'm able to get a full background on this, so very appropriate that I'm able to interview Sue. So Sue, are we ready to start? Yep.
Yep, that's fine.
Great.
You go.
Okay, so we realise that as a community has taken on a lot of trust so far in terms of the hydro building plans and the competence of the KPT Hydro team to manage the scheme. I, of course, wasn't part of it initially, so I'm asking Sue, how did this all come about and how did you come to be involved in the project?
Right, well, in 2006, my husband Gavin and I, with lots and lots of amateur and professional help, we built our own hydro scheme at the top of the Shingle Glen. And over the next few years, Gavin got really interested in this, and he used mapping software to scope several hundred micro hydro schemes, many of which were subsequently built. And he founded the Micro Hydro Association, which is a forum for generators and installers of small-scale hydro.
Great. And what about this particular project at Marburn?
Okay, well, this was one he found in 2008. So he suggested to Buccleuch Estates, who own all the land that it's on, that they might do it as if they wanted, as a community hydro scheme. And they said they would be quite happy for that, but they didn't want to do it themselves. So that plan came to nothing.
Great. So how did you manage to start it up again?
Right, well, that was in 2016. Neil Mackay, on behalf of Penpont Community Council and the KPT, as it was then, the steering group starting up, obtained a letter of comfort from Buccleuch Estates, restating their willingness for the scheme. And he also commissioned from CARES, which is a Community Energy Scotland organisation, a feasibility study. And that was run by Baby Hydro, micro hydro installer. And they said that, in their opinion, there was not enough water in the scheme to make it viable. And the slope of the scheme would not meet the conditions of SEPA, the Scottish Environment Protection Agency.
Right. So this should have knocked it on the head. Why didn't it? How did you move ahead?
Absolutely. Well, we looked again at Baby Hydro's findings, and we thought, it looks as though they've left out an area of catchment, which would mean there's less water in the scheme as far as they can see. And we went over the area with Neil Mackay, who walks it a lot, and up at the top of the Marburn Road by Glengar, the land goes every which way, and it's quite hard to know from the contours which way the water is going. But we walked the streams and we found they came down into the Penpont Burn catchment area. And the Centre for Ecology and Hydrology confirmed our opinion. So that was all right. There was enough water.
Great. But what about the SEPA conditions and the slope not being steep enough?
Yeah, well, the slope's about 5.5%, and SEPA likes it ideally to be 6%. But when we looked at their conditions, we found something interesting, which was that it's this sort of borderline acceptable, 5.5, 6, would become acceptable on two conditions. One was if it was going to be a community scheme, and if the income from the hydro was going to be used to ameliorate conditions in the community. But the community had to score low on one of the conditions in the categories in the Scottish Index for Multiple Deprivation, the SIMD, and that quantifies deprivation. Right.
So the first condition was all right. You're planning a community scheme, but what about the second though? Nobody really called Keir, Penpont and Tinran near an area of grave deprivation.
No, I would agree. But we knew from the census that the population is dwindling at a rate of 1% a year. So that means it's now half what it was in 1970. And we looked at the SIMD, the Index of Multiple Deprivation. And there were all those categories of income and health and education and employment and housing, and our area scored 6, 7, 8, quite highly on all those. And then we came to geographic access for services. And to be eligible for SEPA's leniency conditions, we had to score 1 on that. And lo and behold, we did score 1. So the area qualified for SEPA's special conditions.
Great, good work, just like that. So you didn't have to show how the hydro income was going to help the community.
Ah, yes, we did. And that was where it was handy that the KPT Development Trust had just been incorporated. This is March 2018. And many of its projects will contribute to improving conditions in the community, including geographic access to services. So SEPA accepted this when considering our license.
Great. So then was there a clear path ahead?
No, still not. There was an embargo on exporting electricity to the grid in this area. Scottish Power had stated that the cables carrying electricity to the Kia substation were overloaded, and the substation itself was at capacity. But in this case, the electricity produced by the Penpont burn could be delivered straight into the nearby 3-phase power cable, and that meant that the electricity would be used by the local houses around the connection, and there was no need for the electricity to have to go on overloaded cables or to get anywhere near the Kia substation.
Yeah, that's a great story. So now we're not truly clear to go ahead.
Yes, then we were. And by then it was summer of 2018, and in KPT meetings, we asked for people to put themselves forward to lead the hydro project, and nobody applied for the role.
But at this stage, was there a rush to get the project completed, to get it done?
Well, yes, there was, because the scheme, and so the trust, would benefit greatly from the feed-in tariff, which is a government subsidy set up to encourage clean energy generation. And the subsidy would double the income. So the scheme is a 30 kilowatt scheme, and £6,000 per annum would come from selling electricity from it, and a further 6,000 from the FIT, the feed-in tariff. But the FIT was closing on the 31st of March 2019. And to qualify for the subsidy, projects needed to have their SEPA license, their local government planning permission, and a grid connection offer, all agreed by this date. And that was going to take 6 months hard work.
Wow, so then what?
In September, I said to Gavin, if nobody else is going to do this scheme, then I shall, because otherwise it's a waste of money. And Gavin knew well enough that it would be his expertise that I would be drawing on, but he foolishly didn't really shout loudly enough to object. We both have project management experience as part of our professional careers. I on university research projects, and Gavin as a management consultant for KPMG. And I was project manager for the Tinran Hall refurbishment in 2012.
Great. So did you have any idea at this stage what it was all going to cost?
Well, not really, but we discovered 4 microhydro installers who were interested in tendering, which was lucky because they've become quite a rare breed. And 3 tenders were submitted, reviewed and scored by 4 members of the KPT microhydro team. who all have experience of microhydro, or some have microhydros on their land, or they have relevant knowledge.
Right. So what was the range of costs, roughly?
Between about 152,000 and 168,000. Yeah. And they were all perfectly competent tenders, all from good installers whose work we knew and rated. And the tender was won by JB Hydro. They're not only the best value for money, but also they showed a very intelligent and practical approach to the problems. So KPT commissioned them to undertake technical resources, technical design work. I've lost my script, sorry.
That's okay, just continue. Got it now? Yeah. So KPT had nothing like that amount of money, wind farm money, to fund it. So how did you find the money?
That's right, yes. Well, then I was lucky, because in December I took a random look at the Funding Scotland website and I found a call for an expression of interest by Scottish Power Energy Network's Green Economy Fund. The expression of interest was due later that week, but managed that, and it was accepted. So in January 2019, we put forward a full application for all the costs that we could think of. And we also had £400 from Nature Save, which is an insurance company encouraging such schemes.
Great. And all the rest of the money to fund it?
Well, we didn't need any more money. What happened then was that SEPA granted our license on the 12th of March. On the 15th, we got planning permission. We'd already got our grid connection offer in February, and so we submitted our application to Ofgem for the FIT on the 18th of March. And actually, we were given preliminary FIT accreditation later in the year. And then on the 26th of March, we heard that the Green Economy Fund had granted the full amount of what we requested, which was £181,259. So this allowed for JB Hydro's contract, some post-project maintenance, and for some contingency, which some of which we've needed for various things. But anyhow, the race was over.
Fantastic. And really enjoyed the first episode of this, and look forward to the next interview where we talk about the next phase. Thanks so much, Sue.
Okay, cheers.